Well, after watching that, you might wonder how my husband and I ever worked through our conflict difficulties. This is Module 4, Video 3, and I'm going to tell you how. The first thing we learned to do was really employ good listening skills. We stepped away from being defensive, getting angry with each other, and instead, when we have to approach each other about something, instead of acting irritated, we learn to be a little bit nicer and a little bit more open to each other, because we both know now that we can avoid a lot of problems if we just talk about things. The second thing we learned to do was to give it time. I used to be the kind of person who was like, I wanted to say it now, wanted to solve it now, it was bothering me, I had to get it out. And I've learned through the years a little bit more patience, and that sometimes stepping back for even a couple of days can really benefit when you're having an argument with something. For me, I never know how I'm going to feel about something the next day. So I know after a week, if something's really bothering me, then I know that I should bring it up to him. Another thing we did, and this goes counter to what I told you in one of the other videos, when I told you never put anything in writing. That does not work, I should say that it does work when you are having a face-to-face interpersonal conflict with somebody, particularly for somebody like my husband, because if you give him a few days, he can come up with what he really wants to say, and if he writes it down, it makes it much easier for him. And I know it seems kind of juvenile, but it's actually something that counselors will even tell you to do. Sometimes if he's upset about something, he'll write me almost kind of like a letter. And I can read that letter in my own time, think about what he said, and wait till he gets home from work, and then we can talk about it. And honestly, things have really gone smoothly during the few times we've had such a big argument that we really had to resort to that. But during really bad times, we have done that, and it really does work. And it also serves as a memory aid, because when you're upset, sometimes you just can't really remember everything you wanted to say. He's used that trick with other people too, and it really does work. Okay, there's another thing that you can do, and this one is in the book. I think it's on page 71, and it's something called being assertive. So it's not aggressive. Aggressive is pretty negative, but this is more like being assertive, and it's a 5-step thing that you can do to convey that you're upset about something and be firm about what's going to happen because of this thing. I don't recommend doing this right off the bat. You know, if you have tried very patiently, calmly, and in a respectful way to tell somebody something's bothering you, and it just hasn't worked over and over again, and now you're to the point where you've got to make a decision on your own about what you're going to do about it, then this is probably something you should try. So it starts, number 1, with talking only about observable behaviors. Remember that you can never really look down inside somebody and know what they're thinking. You might think you know based on the expression on your face. I'm guilty of this myself. If my husband were still here, he would tell you that a lot of times I think he's angry about something. Honestly, he's really just tired. So you can really only go by what somebody has said or done when you're doing this. So you describe an observable behavior, and then you give your interpretation, and you simply say, well, this is what I think this means. So it might sound something like, you're acting like this, I think it means you're mad at me. And now you're starting to fact check. And after you do that, then you address how the behavior that the person's doing makes you feel. Now, honestly, a lot of times the argument is going to stop right there, because people very often don't know how they're making other people feel. So once you're aware of that, you might just get an apology or something like that. And then after that, if that doesn't work, now you need to start talking about what you are going to do because of the behavior of somebody else. You don't want this to sound like a threat. Remember, be loving and respectful, right? But you've got to be honest about the consequences. All behavior comes with consequences, and so you've got to lay that out there. And then finally, this is kind of related to consequences, tell them directly the intent of what you are going to do, very directly. So it might sound like this. Listen, I noticed you've been a little bit cranky ever since this teaching on the web has started, and I know you're really feeling stressed out. But it's making me feel like you don't really appreciate the support that I've been giving you through this whole past month. I really tried to get your back so you didn't have to do other things, so you could concentrate on your schoolwork with this stuff. And your crankiness is really making me feel like I don't want to be around you right now. So I was thinking about going to my mom's for a few weeks. What do you think about that? So now, instead of a threat, I've turned it into a question. And for the most of the time, that's going to put a stop to any further problems. But if it doesn't, then you might want to follow through and go away for a couple of days and give that person a little bit of distance. Either way, you've been clear about what you are going to do about the behavior, and then you have to follow through. If you don't follow through, the person is never going to respect you. And I'm not talking about empty threats or anything like that, but really kind of do what you said you were going to do so that the person understands that you're a person of his or her word. Now I would like you to watch the two videos on that are also videos on conflict. One of them is with Sam and Shane, and one of them is with Patty and Shane, a different couple. So we have a young married couple and an ancient, archaic, super old married couple. I think they're about pretty much younger than me. So they're very interesting videos, and I hope you enjoy them.